a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
My name is Grace. I'm your host, and I'm so excited to be here today with Mary Feister, this beautiful, radiant human being. We connected through Instagram, just kind of through the flow of life. And I'm so glad that we have, because your work has been so inspiring to me. Seeing you blossom and grow has been such a beautiful blessing. And for those of you who are new to Mary's work, she is a Reiki practitioner, a grounded spirituality mentor, a holistic nurse, and yoga teacher. And she really focuses on empowering women to reclaim their power and to heal and live their soul led life. So she's also a published author and holds poetry workshops. So facilitates those spaces as well to tap into writing poetry. So you are a woman of many talents, many gifts. And thank you so much for being here on today's episode of the podcast. So I would love to hear from you about what really inspired you to get into the work that you're doing now. Obviously, you do a lot of different things, but what kind of got you on this journey of becoming a healer and a yoga teacher and getting more into these holistic practices?
Yeah, thank you, Grace. Thank you for that beautiful intro, and thank you for having me today. I'm excited to sit here and chat with you. It has been so beautiful to connect. Yeah, it was through Instagram, through the virtual world. And yeah, what inspired me? I think really what started was from a young age wanting to help people, just wanting to help people. I just knew I was here to help people, basically. I was here to serve. And um, I, at the time, I grew up in Michigan, in the Midwest of the US. And yeah, the only path really I felt like to do that, nursing made the most sense. And, I had a couple aunts that were nurses, and my grandma made my grandma happy.
Right.
And I actually was the first. I was the first kid in my family. I have three older siblings. Neither of my parents graduated college. My three older siblings didn't graduate college, and I came from a background of we didn't have a lot, and so I really came in wanting to be able to provide for myself. I think that was a big thing. I wanted stability. I wanted to provide for myself, and I wanted to serve. And so nursing was the way that I saw I could do it. And yeah, went to nursing school, started at like age 20, I think, like got into nursing school in Michigan there. And through that though, I quickly, like, it was around the same time, college was the same time I found yoga, I found meditation. I was taking, like, for my electives, I took like meditation and mindfulness. I took a yoga class. So like, and when I really look back at like what I chose, what I would choose in my free time and my free like elective classes was like what I'm doing now. But yeah, I was finding a different way of being as I got out of my small town I grew up in. And um my way of looking at life was very holistic. And the more time I spent in Western medicine in the hospitals, like there was highlights. Like there's so many reasons why I was there, right? But um and even my background in nursing like plays a part in the work I do now and what comes in for clients. But um it just became like so undeniably clear that it was not where I was supposed to be. Like everybody was burnt out, didn't want to be there, like it wasn't set up to actually support the people working there. And also like there was so much not being addressed in the way that the system's set up for the patients too. And but I kept going because it was the only way that I knew how to provide for myself. It was like what I invested money in. I had student loans, like, and over the years, I think I spent 8 years working in hospitals, and 2 of those years was travel nursing during the pandemic. And that's where I really like I was already burnt out. I quit my job for like a few months during the pandemic, and because it was too much. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna do travel nursing, try that. That's like my last ditch effort because that was always what I wanted to do. And yeah, I could do it for about a year and a half, and it just wasn't sustainable. I was getting so burnt out, and then I was running away and traveling for like a few months, and it did provide me the time and the money to like go train in Reiki and to go train in like yoga teaching and everything, like all of these things that have shaped like what I'm doing today. But um it definitely I think the first time I experienced Reiki was when I was, like, deep in, like, I was just my fight or flight, like, I had dove really deep in probably, like, 2019 into my healing journey, like, where it wasn't just like, "Okay, I journal, great." Like, it was like, no, I found breath work. I found a therapist. I started doing somatic work, like, and I was able to heal really, really big trauma from childhood and like start opening myself up and noticing like, holy shit, I need to change my entire life. And so I left a long-term relationship. I left the house that I owned with him. I left the town I had lived in for 6 years. And that's when I went to travel nurse and um, started to do like collect, my qualifications and follow the path that was really, really calling me. That was just like energy work, especially. I was like, this is what this is what's missing. This is what's missing, and why is there such a large gap? And why are we not talking about the energetics and the more emotional and the mental? And um yeah, and that is how it came to be. Eventually I just finally was like, this is the last nursing assignment I'm taking. I'm done. And I'm not just doing all these things on the side. There was like probably a year there where I was balancing like doing it as like a side gig here and there. And then I couldn't ignore like my soul that was just like, you need to get out and you need to like dive in and stop that like cycle of burnout to really be able to focus in on your dharma. And it's been a wild ride. It's been like almost 2 years now.
Wow. So 2 years since you left travel nursing and went full in on your business.
Yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
I
And
would
did
say,
you
yeah.
end, yeah, 2 years. And did you end up getting your van and traveling and sort of living like van life after travel nursing?
Yeah, after travel nursing, because I was in my Subaru Outback, and I would be like, it was such a funny period in life, like, because I did like a nursing assignment on the East Coast, and a nursing assignment on the West Coast. In between, I traveled to Bali. After I traveled to Central America, and in those in betweens, though, because travel nursing, they'd set you up with housing.
Mhm.
In between, I would like, yeah, just be living out of my Subaru with my tent or car camping, doing like cross country road trips, visiting friends, um, backpacking trips. And so I was
Yeah.
already kind of living that. I thought about buying a van then, but I had the Subaru, and it wasn't until I left nursing, went traveling in Central America for a couple months, and then my friend was like, "Hey, I'm selling my van before I have this baby. Do you want it?" And I was like, "This is the time." Because I had been a dream for her. And I was just in this
Mhm.
whole like, I'm doing all my dreams now as they're presented, like saying yes to it all. And it's worked out.
Yeah, so you took a big leap of faith there.
Yes, I did. I came back to the States with no job, technically no job. I was like launching my website. I was I was selling my car and buying a van that still needed to be like finished building out, and
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going after that. but
Yeah.
I did know. I was like, I am done structuring like my lifestyle around my work, and I'm like, I'm living my lifestyle that I want, and like I'm gonna create my work around that, like
Mm,
it's gonna be cohesive. It's not gonna be like this or that.
right.
And that was really that was like my foundation.
Yeah, I love that. And did you have any fear, come up for you in that transition of like, okay, I'm just like buying this van and like going all in and I don't have a job? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, definitely fear, right? There's gonna be fear. Like the ego
Yeah.
mind is like, "Oh, you're freaking crazy. Like, what are you doing? You don't know what's coming. Go back to
Mhm.
the comfortable," right? And that's really like I work with my clients so often on it's the ego mind that like wants to keep us comfy, right? Like it is like keep us safe, keep us surviving. And like the fear is always gonna be there. It's just that like can you listen to the soul and like that inner voice that's like no, like you're doing something bigger, you don't even know what it is, but like it's there, and like work to get that voice louder, because the fear is always going to be there. Like there's a healthy dose of fear, I feel. And
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing that was coming up for me at that time was having to rework and transmute the opinions around me, because I felt, even though I was like, this looks insane to the outside world, like I know kind of what I'm doing. Like I kind of know what I'm doing, or at
Yeah,
least I know why I'm doing it. And
right.
but like friends, family, like they were like, and I think for me, I had been in a transition for a couple of years at that point. Like it was like they were like, "Who are you?" But like you're, and 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 it's like I had stripped away everything and like started to rebuild, but it was like I was kind of doing this to a new level, right? And so for a bit, friends, family, like they were projecting, like they'd be like, "Wow, you're so brave. I wish I could do that." Or like, and even if it's like a compliment, it's still like a, "Ooh, let me like, is this crazy?" Or they'd be like, "And what's your next move?" Or like, "Good thing you still have nursing in your back pocket. You always have nursing." And like there was a period where I was like still moving forward, but the voice was getting louder of like, holy shit, what am I doing? And it was an opportunity for me to look at it and be like, no, 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 like remember the people projecting love me, they care for me, and because that like they are concerned, because they are seeing it from their point of view. They're seeing it as if they were to do what I'm doing, they would have fear, and they care for me, so they're telling me that, like, they're projecting that onto me, hoping to like save me.
For
And
sure.
at the root of it is love. And I think that's like what I just like kept having to come back to, that is like they're saying these things because they care for me, and I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah, 100%. I had the same experience
Mm,
when I was doing van life.
yeah.
And it was actually during the pandemic. Like I got my van 2 weeks before everything shut down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a crazy time. And my family was like so freaked out, what are you gonna do? Like everything's different now. And I didn't know, but I knew like
Yeah.
my heart was just telling me, okay, wait for a month, get the van built, get everything gathered, and then go. And I didn't have any idea how I was going to make money. I didn't have any idea where I was even going. I didn't know if I was going to be able to like use the showers at Planet Fitness. I didn't know if I
Yeah.
was going to be able to do any of that. But my heart was just saying, go. If it doesn't work out, you can
Mhm.
always come home, right?
Yep.
And I had so much like fear coming out, and it's of course because people care, and it is an alternative way of living. Like
Mhm.
most people that we know like don't, well, you and I probably know a lot of people who live in vans, but
The
happily,
community knows each other.
yeah, for sure. But, you know, like in your typical society, especially growing up, I can imagine in the Midwest and like having this background of going to school and doing nursing, you know, I had a very unconventional life growing up. So it was like pretty expected of me to be doing this, but still, you know, the I had fear and everyone else around had fear. And I liked what you said about there's always going to be a healthy dose of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's such an important recognition because sometimes I think we can get frustrated at
Yeah.
the fear, at the emotion, at that experience when really it's just there trying to protect us, you know, but there's
Mhm.
always that deeper knowing, and leaning into that trust has always brought me to the most beautiful places, the most expansive places.
I think like when you can befriend the fear, it's like, okay, right. It's never not gonna like when people say like, to be fearless, I'm like, we're human. Like we're human. We're always gonna have the ego mind. Like we're all like that's part of the deal. And to even try to like transcend the ego, it's like we're in the like we are spiritual beings having a human experience. It's not about transcending, it's about befriending, it's about becoming cohesive, right? Like mind body spirit. And I think but the frustration comes in when we just keep trying to fight it. We're like, oh, I'm meditating, I should be having zero thoughts, or like, oh, like I should be having no fear for me to take this move. And it's like, no.
Yeah, right. Because then we're just that's where the suppression comes in, right? Because we're like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I've got to just like suppress it. And we're not actually acknowledging or feeling it or being with it. And it just adds on layers. And then the
Yeah.
fear is like, I have to express myself like aggressively for you to listen, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
and then it's like
important.
yeah, it screams at you, right?
Right, exactly, exactly. So, so you started out as a nurse, and through being in that environment, you were like, you kind of found Reiki and you found yoga, you found all these things, and then you went all into that direction. Um, when you've started working with clients, because I tend to experience this and I see this in a lot of my clients who are newer in their businesses as healers. Um, there's always a lot of, or there can be a lot of self-doubt at first. Like,
Oh, yeah.
can I actually like be of service to someone? Like, can I actually help someone experience transformation? So I'm curious to hear what was like one of the most profound moments for you in the beginning where you brought someone through transformation and it just clicked like, oh my God, I
Mm.
got
Yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful question because it's so true, and I feel like in my Reiki 1 students and Reiki 2 students, it's the same main block, right?
it.
Because it feels like this big responsibility and like, oh, like we're also not supposed to we're taught not to trust our gifts, right? Like, and especially, when it comes to intuitive gifts, psychic gifts, and so what came to mind when you said that was actually the first time I was like Reiki 1 attuned, and I had a friend from like I did my attunement right after my first YTT, and we had been traveling together after that, and I was just like, hey, can I do a Reiki session on you? Like, it was like a couple days later, and she was like, yeah. Shout out Malik, she's from Egypt and she's amazing, but we did a Reiki session, and she had the most like profound emotional release. Like she was bawling for like almost like 30 minutes. And of course not every session is like that, right? Like people process in so many different ways. Some people process right in the session, some people process, these emotions come up more throughout the week or month, like because the energy is continuing to move. But I think
Mhm.
for me to have that experience where it was like the first time I was giving Reiki, and she really had like a beautiful, beautiful transformative release. And these layers peeling back. And I remember walking in the bathroom, like I walked in the bathroom and I was like, I was giving her space for a moment and to like kind of come back. And I was like in the bathroom, like shaking, like, and like so sweaty. And I was like, oh my God, what was that? Like, ah. And then of course, like went out and like, like sat with her and talked through it. But, um, not everyone is probably going to have that like really intense first session. And so I think like the advice I always just I give to my students is like we so badly want to be fucking perfect at something the first time we do
Mhm.
it. And it's like just with anything, like it is a muscle you need to strengthen. It is practice, practice, practice. It's just like doing as many reps as you can, because like that was like I don't know, a fluke that I like had that experience the first time, but it's like truly like you have to one know your own energy. Like you have to know your like you have to know your own energy to be really finely tuned to the subtle energies of another person. The more you can, some of us as empaths and stuff, like you can already be pretty fine-tuned, but like I teach this in my empowered empath course, is like you could be like, it could be just chaotic, right? When you're constantly taking in everything and you're like all over the place with emotions and you're not grounded, you don't know how to protect yourself, you don't know how to ground yourself, you don't know how to clear your energy and take care of you, then
Mhm.
it can be overwhelming. And so whether you're an empath or not, like as a healer, it is so important to self heal every day, like to tap in, self heal every day, really get to know that dictionary of like how energy speaks to you, because our psychic gifts and energy speaks to everyone differently. Like there's the clairs, there's, like if you want to go into like clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, like those are ways that the universe, the energy like speaks to you, and we all are attuned to one or two, and we can attune and strengthen that muscle to all four. And it's practice, it's all practice. And just like imposter syndrome, like any of those things, it's like we so badly want perfection. We don't want people to see us not amazing at something. And so like it
Mm.
often is what stops you from doing it or for deepening. And I think that's like the key to mastering anything, right? Is just practice.
Yeah,
And we want to just like be there overnight. Like I'm attuned, I should be like, I should be good to go.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, eh, I think especially people who are naturally very connected to those psychic gifts from a young age, when they go into things like, and tell me, because you actually teach Reiki, so you would know better than I, but it seems like people who are already connected to those gifts and then they come into learning something, a modality like Reiki, there can even be more pressure around like, well, I already like have this connection, right? So I should be able to just jump right into it and be
Yeah.
like good at it right away. Of course, from any background, you can experience that, but
Mhm.
um, that's definitely something I experienced
Mm,
because from a young age, I would see things, hear things, have visions, have prophetic dreams, all of this. And once I got introduced to Reiki, it was like I had to learn how to tap into that specific energy. And I
yeah.
had to learn also how to decipher my own energy versus someone else's. For someone who knows that they naturally have these kinds of gifts, would you say Reiki is probably a good place to start as a modality
Mm.
for?
Yes. So what I like to say, like, yes, I'm a Reiki practitioner, but I'm like Reiki for me feels like the doorway, right? Like
Yeah.
it is a doorway to enter, to learn an on and off switch. Because like you said, Grace, like you were born with a pretty friggin' open channel, and but it can get confusing. It can get confusing. It can get overwhelming, depending. It sounds like you had like an alternative lifestyle or like alternative way of growing up, but so many people with an open channel, maybe a prophetic dream that they share got, their parents got fearful, and then they would still, and then they were like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Or, they're like, I'm seeing grandma who's died, and they're like, oh, you're freaking me out, don't say that. Or there's all of these ways, or you can even just scare yourself, right? You can just be scared yourself through those experiences if you're not feeling safe to share around like with other people. Um, but Reiki offers a clear doorway with a lineage. I think it's really powerful because to learn from a lineage, to learn from a tradition that is like deeply rooted, it's been around. Like energy healing itself has always been around. Like they even say like Jesus learned a type of energy healing, right? And like places across the world at the same time being introduced to a new way of energy work and healing. And so this is something that's always been there. Reiki is derived from a Japanese lineage, and it is become a pretty well-known thing in the Western world. And so I think it helps to have a name to it that people are pretty comfortable with. Yes, like some people are still like, hey, what the heck is that? Or I would never do that. But like for the most part, it's pretty well known. It's pretty accepted, right? And so for those that are gifted, are called to that, are here to help others heal, or even just to heal themselves, to heal their friends and family, like it gives a name, it gives a lineage to learn from and honor and speak to, but it also gives that on off switch, to where you can really fine tune and not feel overloaded with information all the time. You can learn to tap in and have doors to open, doors to close. If you want to do mediumship over here, you have a door, like you could, like I teach, clients and students to like create boundaries. Energetic boundaries are so important. And so you're not just like having people talk to you all the time,
Right,
Uh,
for sure.
and I think also though is like this is something I'm so excited for Jess, my teacher and my partner that I do Reiki 2 teaching with. We're building out an even more in-depth program in 2025 where we are going to go so much. We've already started to like shape our Reiki 1s and our last Reiki 2 training to this, but like it's so much more than Reiki. Like Reiki is like the name and the lineage and the doorway, but once you do open up yourself to those realms, and or even just reintroduce yourself to those realms with some structure, right, then what I do is it's like I open and close with Chokurei with Reiki, but I'm doing my own unique version of energy healing, like, and who knows what's coming in, but and doing crazy things with my hands. And traditional Reiki is very like you place your palms, you
Mhm.
don't talk to the client, like there's certain places on the body. And so it's evolved a lot. And I say evolve because Reiki in that traditional sense, Usai Reiki is very structured. And
Mhm.
also in this evolution, it's returning back to the primal, like the more just what energy healing has always been there, right? And working in like the pranic fields. Um, to answer your question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's really helpful to have a starting point, right? Like to connect
Mhm.
to that life force energy. To
Yeah,
know what that feels like and to be able to decipher between, okay, this is me channeling life force energy, and this is the client or the person who I'm working with, right? This is their energy, to be able to
yeah,
decipher the few the those differences. I think is super helpful when you're first getting started, and it can be chaotic, kind of like you were saying at the start, to like feel all of that.
yeah.
um so that's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, you guys, if you want to learn more about Mary's work and learn Reiki or any of these things, We're going to have all of her details in the show notes below so you can check her out. But I'm so curious to talk to you a little bit more about what it has been like and what it's still like being a healer, an energy worker, and running a business in the online space.
Hmm.
Um, did you start off in the online space, or did you start off kind of in person and then transition into the online space?
Yeah. So I did start off doing in person. I had resistance to virtual sessions at the very beginning because I was like, I'm such a people person. I want to connect with people, like, and
That's so common.
maybe and yeah, and maybe some healthy skepticism there, right? Like a little bit
Sure.
of like, oh, it'll probably be more powerful in person. And so I had resistance, but like I think the first, I don't know, when I started out doing all in person, and then when I was like, okay, I'm going all in, um still probably didn't, I was only really doing in person, and it wasn't until probably like it was once I was in the van. One That's what it was. I was like, what was once I was in the van and I was like, oh, I want location freedom even more than this.
Yeah.
And that I really gave it a chance. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna offer online. And promoted that through Instagram, promoted that with friends, community. At this point, I had traveled a lot. I'd lived in a lot of different places around the country, visited a lot of places in the world. So my connections, it was nice because it was like, oh, okay, I'll do a session for you over in Europe. I'll do a session, and quickly, like I did one session virtually and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, these are just as powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there it's, to be in the online space, it's a funny thing because it's like all energetics. It's all energetics, right? I think you said this, Grace, once before. I remember you saying like energetics first, strategy second. Was that you?
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot about how we need both, but
Yeah.
it's even within the strategy, it's all energetic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you can't get away from that. You can't just be all logical and expect things to work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been because prior to starting my own business, I was not like a huge Instagram girly. Like I was not
Mhm.
like a huge I would post when I went on a trip, like, and would post my travels, and that was really it. And so it was a big change for me to show up consistently. It was a big change for me to I think showing up vulnerably has felt pretty easeful for me. I think just I don't I, for me it's felt like, yes, there's been some fear there, but yeah, that feels, I'm kind of an open book. So like,
Yeah, you seem to have that natural inclination of like, this is what my heart is feeling and saying. Yes, there's that fear, but like, I'm gonna go with that trust too. You
are you
seem to have
familiar
that.
with human design?
Yes, I am. Do you
Okay.
have a defined heart center?
So I'm a manifester, and I'm an ego driven manifester. So it's
Oh,
literally it's like I've yet to meet another one. Most manifestors I know are like emotional or spleen, or go like from the spleen or from the emotional, I think
yeah.
is like the two I've met a lot of, or some of, but the ego is basically like, you want something, you do it. And like what you feel is in your heart, you do it. And so I do think it's just part of my blueprint a bit. And of course there's still those like fears and those stories and wanting to control how someone perceives me, or like worried about, judgment and all of the shadow work that has come, which I think is like key to being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a space holder, a healer.
Mhm.
Like you have to, it is your duty to do your own work consistently all the time as well. And they go together, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like for you showing up in the online space with your, even though you had some of that resistance at first, like once you started doing those online sessions and you saw how powerful they were, like then it was pretty easy for you to basically show up and just like share your work and your life through social media.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I think time, like it takes some time to build that momentum to even just when people think of you to have like or someone says Reiki, they think of you, you know, like I think that is this shift I saw that probably took 6 months of like consistency where it's not just like I do think like word of mouth has actually been pretty powerful for me, like word of mouth and social media. And I think yeah, that shift of like when you can start to become the Reiki person that they think of, or the yoga teacher that they think of, or the branding mentor, marketing mentor that they think of. Like, I do think that comes with just showing up consistently and building the trust
Yeah.
and like showing your competency, right? Like showing like you do have the knowledge to back like if you're just posting your healing session every single day but never talking to anything beyond I offer Reiki. I offer Reiki. I offer Reiki, you know? Like people are going to be like, "Cool."
Yeah. Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But like talking about experiences or talking about like your own personal experiences working with clients or working with Reiki or like, yeah, things like that that actually build the trust and show people, hey, I'm out here doing it. Even if you're not getting paid clients initially, like working on friends or like talking about experiences
Mhm.
that you had, like, yeah, it opens up that door and builds that level of authority and trust, like you're saying. And that takes
Yeah.
time.
I think if anybody is listening and starting out, I think it is so key to just trade like do trades. Like I for a while I was trading for testimonials. So then I would have like testimonials ready for my website. I would also trade to like an influencer or someone with a following, you know, a bigger following than you say if you are like a small business starting out and you're like, "Oh, but I don't have a lot of reach on Instagram." It's like still show up and reach out to the ones that feel aligned to you and have a bigger reach, right? Because then their reach becomes your reach. But I would reach out to them and just say like, "Hey, I feel really drawn to you. Like this is why I feel aligned with what you speak to. I offer this. I would love to trade you a session. I can give you more information, but yeah, let me know if you're interested and just to share about your experience on your stories, on your, you know, with your community." And that's another really good way to build that natural growth with people that are truly interested
Right.
in what you're doing, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's like word of mouth using the online space.
Mhm.
Because the most powerful marketing is word of mouth, hands down. If someone tells you about an experience they had and they're personally recommending someone else, then like it already creates a level of trust and safety
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily have when you just like come across someone randomly on Instagram. Of course, trust and safety can be built through content and conversations, right? But
Mhm.
even having someone say, hey, I had this experience, it was beautiful, and like I would highly recommend it, that automatically puts a level of trust and safety into the person who's viewing, like into their mind.
Yeah.
So that's a really powerful way to, yeah, grow, first of all, grow your audience, grow your awareness, and start to become like that identity in a sense. Like, hey, I'm the person who does this, and these are the kind of people that I serve. And if you're offering online sessions too, to be able to show that you're actually doing online sessions
Yeah.
through like the actual tangible experience people are having, right? Um,
Mhm.
that's really powerful. Really powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a journey.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I think so many people struggle with is finding that balance between taking care of life, being a human being, existing, and also
Yeah.
running a whole business. And I'm sure for you, there's a whole other layer to that because you live in a van. And I know from being living that lifestyle, like you're not just thinking about, okay, like did I brush my teeth? Did I do my dishes? Did I eat enough today? Did I shower? Right? You're thinking, where am I going to shower? Where am I going to get my water? Am I running out of water? Like, when am I going to do my laundry? Like, where do I
Yeah.
have to go to do my laundry? Right? There's like extra layers to the self-care process because you don't just have like a laundry machine like right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you personally balance like taking care of all the life things and running a business and being a healer within that business too, where you're also interacting with a lot of energy and
Yeah.
processing a lot with people?
Yeah, I think like van life in itself or nomadic lifestyle, you've got to become your grounded anchor, right? Like, yeah, like more than if you were to have a home base, you were, to be in your
Mhm.
routine all the time because yeah, like you said, like so much energy is spent on logistics some days. So like I've learned um to do more slow matting or like stay in a place like I like it burns you out to like be road tripping constantly all the time and my work for in-person events and things like that I'm actually like hanging out in Southern California quite a bit right now because things just seem like they're flowing here and a couple different girlfriends that I collaborate with are both in Southern California, and so it's like things are seeming to kind of keep drawing me back here to where
Mhm.
I'm driving less distance all the time.
Mhm.
But I think one tip is like non-negotiable like morning routine. Like I cannot just wake up and like go off on my day driving and like I have to like non-negotiable. I wake up and if I have to go repark, I go repark. But then I journal, I meditate, I do some self Reiki, I um go for a walk before I'm like looking at my phone, before I'm getting on social media, before I'm like even I think with this too, it being in van life, it's like you can't care who's watching. Like I am the queen of doing my morning routine or doing my yoga practice or doing my movement practice, like right in a park or not even a park, like a random patch of grass on the side of a parking lot,
Yep,
like um and
I get
it's
it.
like whatever. You get it.
I
And
do.
some days you're doing your morning practice with an epic view out in nature, and some days you're in a shitty parking lot, and it is what it is. You're your anchor. And I think with that is really, really um consistent practices like with my energy. Like this is something I dive really deep into. An empowered empath is like the practices that the energetic hygiene to do, because especially like yeah, not only am I in other people's energy during sessions and work and all I do, also like as a traveler, in a random parking lot and there's you see the crazy like the most random folks are always like around you, or you might these situations that you wouldn't normally witness, and sometimes it's really really beautiful moments of human experience, and sometimes you're like, oh my god, this energy is like I only have this thin layer between me and them, or it's just you're exposed to a lot more energy. So I would say yeah, like non-negotiable morning routine before getting on anything else is starting out in your own energy, taking care of you first, and then energetic hygiene like throughout the day and calling all your energy back home morning and night, sending every energy like from sources known and unknown back, as many times a day as you need, but like morning and night is my practice. And Yeah, I think where I would love to hear your thought on this, Grace, that it's like where there can be like this in this nomadic lifestyle, there can be this especially people that are very grounded, like it's like, oh, I want that lifestyle, but it's like there can be this kind of maybe unconscious belief that it's like, oh, they're flighty or they're unreliable or they're,
Mhm.
you know, they're who knows where they'll be. And I think like from a business aspect, like that is important to know, where it's like I do think that is there for a lot of people. And kind of my mantra with that has been like is like, oh, my people will understand. But I think because that only works because my energy itself is grounded. Like because I truly am like I, you know, have my routines and my practices and my way of staying grounded amongst the constant change, that
Mhm.
there isn't that kind of like, oh, she's just like a gypsy who knows where she'll be tomorrow. Like it's kind of there, but it's but it's grounded.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Definitely, that's a huge thing. I mean, when I was traveling, I would say I was not nearly as grounded as I could have been
Yeah.
because I was not traveling alone. And there was always a lot of constant movement. Like we wouldn't really stay in one place. And that did impact my business.
Yeah.
It did, because I wasn't fully taking care of myself in the ways energetically that I need to. And I spent a lot of time physically taking care of myself by like making sure I had everything that I needed
Yeah.
physically, but energetically I wasn't. And it's such an important piece, even if you're not traveling all the time, even if you have a
Mhm.
grounded place where you're living and you're established, because you can go on Instagram and immediately feel completely ungrounded.
Oh, yeah.
It's like can be super dysregulating. So, yes, definitely as a nomad, but just in general, like the most important thing that we can do, the most foundational thing that we can do to have a successful business, whatever success looks like for you, but to have that is to really, really nurture that connection with self and to keep up with the energetic hygiene.
Yeah.
Because, like we were talking about,
Everything.
social media, it's all energetic. Yes, there's an
Yeah.
algorithm, and yes, there's different strategies we can use. But at the end of the day, if you're sending someone a message on Instagram, they're still feeling your energy behind it. Like
Mhm.
they're still feeling the energy that's behind the Instagram reel you just filmed. If you're feeling doubt about yourself, there's some piece of that like content that is going to be felt, right?
Yeah. And I
Um,
think like to on that thread, it's like to remember that every, you know, whether it's through a screen or in person, every single human being, you know, every follower is a human being, right? And so like to remember that, and then also remember that every single person you have contact with, like through a screen or not, you have an energetic cord with. You have this energetic contract with each other. And so even you know, cutting cords away with Instagram, but like just remembering that how many people in this day and age, like through social media, through Instagram, through TikTok, through email, through texting, through calls, through in person, like how many different energies were you around, were you introduced to throughout a day? Like it's insane. It's insane. Our systems are not built to have this much information input. And
right.
that like like yeah, you have to do the energy hygiene for one, to just to like exist. I feel like in this world in a balanced state, but
Yeah.
also as yeah, as a business owner, as someone that is you know, having a business that's an extension of them, right? And it's so important to remember that it is all all connected, and it is your duty to clear that.
Right,
You
right.
can only control your own energy. You can't control the person in the car next to you angry yelling, like you can't control that. But you are taking on that energy if you're not boundarying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that kind of brings it around too to like learning some of these modalities, like learning and understanding how to decipher between my energy and that energy, like knowing these like simple tools for how to, yeah, how to call all your energy back and how to release anything that you've taken on, right? Like some people don't even know where to start with that. And that's
Mhm.
why I think the work that you're doing is so important. The way that you show up is very like in the online space, it's very grounded, it's very inviting, it's very warm, it's very vulnerable and like comforting. Honestly, I love seeing your content.
Mm.
And um yeah, so keep it up, keep up the good work, seriously. And speaking of which, um what are some things that you're going to be working on in the new year?
2025 feels like a big year. It's
Uh,
exciting. Yeah, 2025, let's see. So, I'm gonna be doing, I've mentioned Empowered Empath a couple of times. It's a mastermind that I adore. It's gonna be another round starting probably end of January, beginning of February. I haven't picked the exact dates, but it's all virtual, and this is for anyone that feels that they are an empath, knows they're an empath, or a deep feeler, sensitive soul, or even just a really creative individual. And it's about really knowing how to hone it in and remember that it is a superpower. Like the sensitivity is a superpower when you know how to, do that energetic hygiene, when you understand yourself fully, when you can come back to the truth that it's like, oh no, this is actually like this is deeply like if I wasn't like as a sensitive person, like it fully allows me to be a better healer, a better partner, a better lover, a better friend, when you can take care of yourself. And so that's Empowered Empath. So incredible, the transformation. The last round was 5 weeks, and I'm making it longer. I think the next one's going to be 8 weeks. But that is going to be a group container. That I have coming out again. Reiki 1 training in January, Reiki 2 training end of January. That is in person if you're in SoCal. Also virtual though, virtual class as well for that. And we go very deep into the Reiki 2 training with the students to allow you to walk away from this 6 week container with like weekly calls, like group support, practice sessions, everything that is like you are going to feel confident and ready to hold space, well-rounded like energy healer practitioner. And yeah, I also am working with my girlfriend Lexi. We've been collaborating the last like almost a year now. But we have a really beautiful movement called the Inner Blue Movement, where this is for women, and we do a monthly poetry workshop, embodied poetry workshop, where we combine like mindfulness, meditation, somatic work, and poetry to really transmute blocks and emotions, and tap into your creativity, release perfectionism, all of these beautiful things that come up. And that's in the virtual space as well. And we're going to be doing another retreat next year. um, yeah, there's gonna be a lot. I know there's more coming. Like as a an intuitive, like as a business owner, like I have other seeds that are happening behind the scene, but follow me on Instagram and stay up to date there because there's more.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes below so you can check out Mary's work. And we have a special gift for the audience as well,
Mhm.
right? Your Overcoming Self-Sabotage Masterclass is coming up. And by the time this podcast is launched, the live session will have already happened, right? But everyone can access the replay recorded version using the link below.
Yeah. I wanted to give you guys a special gift. So this Overcoming Self-Sabotage Masterclass is going to be a 2-hour experience virtually. And we are going to dive deep into the energetics behind why we self-sabotage, how to welcome in self-love and compassion, because we cannot shame ourselves into change. We have, it's gotta come from a place of love and compassion. And how do we do that, right? And so really diving deeper into the origin of, like, first off, why are we doing this, what are we doing, get clear on that, and then okay, now what? So then we're gonna dive into some tools and techniques to use, and how to set achievable goals from there, and how to really set yourself up for success. And whether that is, if you found yourself self-sabotaging, not quitting the job that that has been draining you for years, or if you are, self-sabotaging in your well-being and taking care of your body, or in relationships. There's so many ways that it can show up, and that's okay. We are human, and it's okay. And you get to take your power back. You get to say no more. You get to say, I'm going to be a sovereign soul. I'm going to take my power back, and really go after the dreams. Go after the dreams, go after the things, the change that is going to support you, to support your evolution. And for any of those listening to this podcast, we'll drop a code below to actually be able to download that for free. So I'm going to give that as a little gift for anyone watching Grace's beautiful podcast.
Yay, awesome. I'm so excited to check it out and learn from you, Mary. You are such a beautiful human being. Thank you so much for sharing your light with us today, and for sharing your story. It's very inspiring, and I just absolutely love hearing how we all kind of walk our own individual paths to get to where we're going. So thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to listen to all your other guests, because I know you call in such beautiful, powerful entrepreneurs and souls. So thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such an honor. And maybe we'll do another one of these and go a little deeper, because it's always so, like, funny, we have an hour, but it goes by so fast.
It really does. I know. I'm like, wait.
There's so much more I know we could get into, but
Oh yeah.
this has been so fun for now. And I just look forward to seeing all the things that you're growing into as well. And I just love supporting each other. It's makes me so happy doing this work and getting to
Collaboration,
so
baby.
many incredible people. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate us wherever you are listening, and check back for more episodes that are going to be coming your way every single week, where I'm going to be interviewing a wide variety of human beings who run businesses and are incredible entrepreneurs and healers and just good human beings, right? Like I just love it. Okay. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.
Don't forget to rate, like, and share with all your friends, and subscribe so